Yeah, they were all yellow. I came along, I wrote a song for you, and all the things you do, and it was called Yellow.
I'll work with you to do 4, 5, and 6. If you've done it already, go ahead and forward the video. If you had trouble with it, we'll do it together. In equation number 4, if I'm trying to solve the equation for y, the thing that is in my way is the minus 5. I'm going to undo minus 5 by adding 5 to both sides. And then rewrite your simplified left side and your right side. Looking at number 5. Again, I'm isolating y. This plus 2x term is the whole thing that's in my way. So I'm going to undo that by subtracting 2x from both sides. You don't have to write the negative 2x first. It can come second. In the next example, I'm still solving for y, and we need to remember that we always undo the added or subtracted term first. In this case, it was the plus 6. I'm not done though. I still haven't isolated my y, so I'm going to divide this side and this whole side by 2. Remember, there are two equations going on here, or I should say two fractions. You have negative 8x being divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so this will be a negative 4x when we simplify it. This other ring is doing negative 6 divided by 2, and that's just a negative 3, so I went ahead and simplified it right away. You have done what your task was, and that was to solve each equation for y. And we're going to need to use those skills today to get our equations in slope-intercept form. And if you notice, all 3 of these warm-up problems are now in slope-intercept form. I'll do these examples slowly, but once again, if you think you've got it, go ahead and work ahead of me. You can always skip ahead. Letter A is already in slope-intercept form, and remember, slope-intercept form is y equals the slope times x plus b. Well, in this case, my y-intercept is a negative 3, and we remember to begin there. I plot my negative 3 on the y-axis, and my slope tells me that I need to rise 2 and run 1. I'll make that look better. So from the y-intercept, I go up 2, 1, 2, and I run 1 to the right. And again, only 2 points are required to make the line. Letter B is a little trickier because it is not in slope-intercept form. It's in a whole nother form, which we will talk about in the future, but for now I want to graph it using slope-intercept form. Nothing has changed in terms of the rules. I still need to get rid of the added subtracted term. In this case, because I'm trying to solve for y, that x term is in my way. So I'm going to undo it by subtracting x from both sides. That leaves me with 4y equals negative x plus 8. Again, you can write 8 minus x. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to be careful when you're pulling out which number is your slope and which number is your y-intercept. Let's go ahead and finish this now because I need to divide by 4. In my final answer, I get y on this side, and again you need to see this next right side as 2 fractions. One of my fractions is here. It's negative x divided by 4, and that confuses a lot of kids until they realize the number 1 is really right in front of that x. You can leave the x up there with the 1 in the numerator, or if you're more comfortable, write the fraction 1/4 out front. Then our second fraction that we need to reduce is this 8 divided by 4. That's just 2. Now it's pretty straightforward to graph. I begin with my y-intercept, and this time my slope tells me to go down 1 and right 4. Plot your 2 points, and there you have your line. We'll just keep going. Letter C, I need to solve for y still. And the term that is being added or subtracted to the y is the 4x. I will subtract 4x from both sides. So I will have negative 3y on the left, and that equals negative 4x plus 12. Don't get those signs messed up. Finishing off, I need to divide by a negative 3. That leaves me with y on the left, and a 4 and a negative 3 is my fraction over here. Now that's negative 4/3, or negative 4 over negative 3. You need to see that those two negatives are going to make a positive, and you just have the fraction 4/3. And we love fractions for slope because it's very easy to count, so don't worry about that. My other fraction I need to reduce is the 12 divided by a negative 3. Well, a positive divided by negative is going to give me a negative, and 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. Begin with your y-intercept, plotting a negative 4. Your slope tells you to rise 4 and run 3 to the right. There's your line. And finally we have example D, and this one involves the distributive property, and that's okay. We're going to begin by simplifying the right side by distributing the negative 2 to the first term and the negative 2 to the last term. Now finish up by isolating y. We're going to need to add 5 to both sides, and I like to put it right under its like term. So these have gone away, and you're left with y equals negative 2x, and then negative 2 plus 5 is a negative 3, or a positive 3. Alright, let's start graphing. I put a point at 3, my y-intercept, and my slope tells me to go down 2 and right 1. There's my line. I have 2 more examples. If you feel like you need them, go ahead and do them. But if you feel like you're a rock star, go ahead and get started on your practice work. Pause the video now and the answers will appear when you come back.